How realistic is it to actually get a deal by August 1st?
Just when we thought it couldn't get any worse, welcome back to Moose on the Loose. My name's David. Today we've got Melanie Joly giving our hard-earned money, our tax dollars, to a bankrupt company. We also have Doug Ford absolutely praising Mark Carney, licking his boots in front of everyone at the Muskoka retreat with all the premiers. Let's jump into this. Starting this one off, a little follow-up from the previous video talking about supply management. We've got Table Salt saying, why would you want to limit supply? Because then the price access moves higher. So he's showing here as supply goes up, and this is price of ice cream cones up to $3 and quantity of ice cream cones. As the price goes up, eventually the demand will go down, and finding that equilibrium point is the apex of profit. That's what the supply management system is. It's finding the maximum amount of profit, because as this goes up, then farmers have to dump their milk. While we've got Canadians who can't afford to feed themselves, we have milk being dumped down the drain. So he's got another one here saying it costs $30,000 for government permission to milk a cow in Canada. That's it. That's the tweet. Yeah, you have to buy a permit to milk a cow in Canada. That's how dumb the supply management system is. 50 liters is all you get, folks. In Alberta, commercial dairy farms that produce and sell milk must hold a quota, which is basically a license to produce a set amount of milk. Commercial dairy farm is an enterprise farm that produces over 50 liters of milk per day. If you want to sell milk, you need to get a commercial quota. Otherwise, you can only get 50 liters a day. And as this guy's posted here, that's basically one cow, because an average cow produces between 20 and 40 liters a day. So you basically get 1.2 cows before you have to buy a $30,000 permit. This system has to be abolished. Moving on here, we've got Mark Carney. Question about, can he get a deal with Donald Trump?
How realistic is it to get a deal by August 1st?
Well, that depends. I mean, there's two sides to a deal. We will, obviously, we're working on behalf of Canadians, and we will agree a deal if there's one on the table.
This is some really telling body language. You notice the first thing he did was look away from the reporter asking the question. There he goes. He looks aside. Where's the answer? Is it over there? He's looking over to his left. Little ums and ahs. He puts his hands, clasps them. He's not getting a deal, because he's basically an American working with America. He's not going to get a deal for us because he's not acting in Canada's best interest. So we don't need to play the rest of the clip. He just ums and ahs. That gives you a little flavor of what's coming up. But first, we've got Mark Carney spending. Major breaking, massive Canadian deficit spending. Department of Finance documents revealed that Government of Canada needs to borrow $147 billion in new funds in 2025-2026. You see it down here. And just think, Chrystia Freeland refused to announce the deficit and quit because of a $40 billion deficit with Justin Trudeau. How does she feel about this? This was all a big scam that Chrystia Freeland and Mark Carney were running. They threw Trudeau under the bus to get rid of him and get Carney in. And all the other Liberals just went along with it because they're all a bunch of crumb snatchers. Moving ahead, we've got this bombshell news coming out that Melanie Joly has given $1.9 million of our tax dollars to the Just for Laughs Festival, which just went bankrupt last year. She's funding bankrupt companies at this point. So reported on Blacklock's Reporter, it says Industry Minister Melanie Joly yesterday announced $1.9 million in federal aid to a production company currently in bankruptcy holdings. Congratulations, Joly said in announcing the subsidy for her hometown Just for Laughs festival that owes creditors millions. That's the key point there. We'll get back to that. I invite Montrealers and tourists from home and abroad to take advantage of a rich program that illustrates our diversity and cultural vitality, said Joly. Her office did not reply to questions. She's from Montreal. She's giving money to the Montreal Just for Laughs. Just wait. The $1.8 million federal subsidy for the comedy festival follows organizers' 2024 filing for bankruptcy protection in Quebec Superior Court. Just for Laughs told the court they were unable to pay their bills despite receiving a total of $15.3 million in federal subsidies in the previous 4 years. The Liberals have been dishing out our tax dollars, $15 million to Just for Laughs. If their business doesn't make money, then they go bankrupt. Why are we paying for this? I have an idea about that, but first, the case is ongoing. Just for Laughs creditors were owed $23.7 million, including $1.9 million to the Business Development Bank, a Crown agency. Joly's office said new funding would support the promotion and marketing of the event amid complaints of poor sponsorship. The Just for Laughs Festival is one of our metropolitan flagship events, which, on top of generating significant economic impacts, helps to position Montreal as a world capital of festivals, said the minister's office. Now, the question is here, did Melanie Melanie Joly just want the Just for Laughs festival to continue in Quebec because it makes it a nice vibe in the city? Maybe, but not likely. You see here, they also dished out $600,000 grant to organizers of the rival comedy show, Comedy Ha Festival in Montreal. Now, what I think is happening here, she's giving out a lot of money, almost $2 million to Just for Laughs, and that other one, $600,000 to the other one, $15 million over the past 4 or 5 years. If we take a deeper look into who Melanie Joly is, she was once the Minister of Tourism, official languages, Canadian heritage. Looking at her bio here, Melanie Joly has served on numerous boards of directors, including those of Regis, de Rennes, etc., etc. This is a government agency. Foundation du Chum is a fundraiser for a medical system. And Musée d'Art Contemporain de Montreal. That's the one that's interesting. If we go on her Wikipedia page here at the bottom, you can see it right here. Member of Board of Directors and founding president of the Youth Committee of Foundation Musée d'Art Contemporain de Montreal. And that was in 2006 to 2007. Also 5 years here from 2008 to 2013. Member and Board of Director and Chair of Governance Committee at Musée d'Art Contemporain de Montreal. Now, what exactly is this? It's a Quebec museum institution located in Montreal, Quebec. It's the first Canadian museum entirely devoted to contemporary art. She's an art nut. She's wrapped up in this world. What I am suspecting has happened here is she has friends who run or own Just for Laughs, who are owed a lot of money from Just for Laughs. And what I speculate is she's dishing our money, $1.9 million of it, to Just for Laughs. So then some of her friends who have debts get that paid off. It's possible that she's had a friend or friends in those, not just for Laughs, but that other comedy festival that have been enjoying having a friend that's high up in the government. That's why you see all this money getting dished out for Just for Laughs. And this is all in Montreal. There's also one in Toronto as well, which I've filtered out. But I mean, look at this, millions of dollars, as you just seen, over $15 million. So that's the question here. Does she have friends in the art world that wanted their debts paid off, so she used taxpayer money to do it? That's what I think happened here. Moving ahead, we've got this buffoon, Doug Ford, absolutely licking Carney's boots because he's not really a conservative.
Home with us, we'll always be best pals. And I want to thank you and your beautiful family for coming to Muskoka, and I look forward to having you back.
That's right, they're in Muskoka. Now's the time they've rented out this massive resort to enjoy the beautiful lands of Muskoka. It's not like they have parliament they could sit in and meet and have all these discussions. They have to rent out this place and waste our tax dollars to do this. What a joke. But don't worry, we've got Doug Ford here absolutely praising Mark Carney. Just listen to this dribble.
We need to send them a strong message. We don't have to take a back seat to anyone in the world, and we sure the heck don't have to take a backseat to President Trump. Again, Prime Minister, I want to thank you for joining us for this FMM. It's refreshing to some of us that have been around this table for some time to have a Prime Minister that has our backs, that are out there. He's a great community builder, and he's a brilliant businessman. And I'm confident that he's going to take the business approach to our federal government that we haven't seen for a long time. So thank you very much, everyone. And I guess let's get started.
Yeah, it is disgusting. What's interesting, Carney's body language when he said that, he didn't really have a response to it. He just looked him up and down and that was it. It's almost like he knew that was coming. In fact, he calls him a brilliant businessman, and this is his investments. Almost all of them are in America. It really says a lot. Is Doug Ford invested in Canada, or is he only invested in America as well? There's no doubt that Mark Carney's a smart man. Problem is he's taking advantage of Canadians, and Doug Ford now praising him versus calling him on his crap. Listen to this incoherent jargon. Him trying to talk his way out of this hole that he's got us into with negotiating with Trump.
We will have a discussion on the current state of negotiations with the United States. I will say that, as you are aware, our senior ministers, my chief of staff, myself, were engaged in continuous discussions. Minister LeBlanc will be reinforcing those discussions over the next few days in Washington with the United States. We are looking for the best deal for Canada. We're only going to accept the best deal for Canada. That is very much...
No, you're looking for the best deal for supply management. That's what you're looking for. I wish these negotiations were transparent, because then Canadians could really decide if this guy should be prime minister based on what he's negotiating.
What we collectively can most control is building a stronger economy, moving from reliance to resilience and division to unity. That will require two things. First, support for affected industries, lumber, steel, aluminum, automobiles, particularly. I would also like to commend the series of free trade agreements that have been signed between the provinces. And Premier Ford, I know there's been a flurry of additional activity. Premier Smith, everyone, Premier Houston, others leading this. This network, this web of free trade agreements is significant for our country. It's what Canadians want, what our citizens want. As part of the federal legislative agenda has been to remove all federal impediments to free trade. We're not the biggest problem here, as you would expect, challenged, but we've following your example.
Yeah, Carney, you are the biggest problem. The problem is we've got an American running a Canadian country. Look how many stocks this guy has. Does this look like someone who's got Canada's best interest at heart? I don't think so.
We felt it's critical that we get out of the way of Canadians being able to work where they want and to buy what they want. Bottom line is, Canadians can be our own best customer, and we're making sure that's the case. And we can give.
That's not the case. We need Americans to buy our stuff. Otherwise, we go broke. That's the simple truth of it. We have to do deals with America. We need their support, their financial purchasing power to make our country operate. That's it.
Ourselves far more than anyone else can take away and control our destiny together and build.
That line there at the end?
Sells far more than anyone else can take away.
He said that multiple times. He's got it written down here. It's this little fearmonger speech line he likes to throw in there. Art Carney's been taking the same question all day. Doesn't really seem to have an answer. This one here, PM Carney says, the phone's been ringing off the hook from other countries seeking trade relations. I think this is just him negotiating with Trump. He's trying to scare Trump with this. It's not going to work.
CTV News. Can you elaborate on what that means to get a good deal for Canada? Tangibly, what does that include? And if we can't get there, will Canada retaliate?
Well, the first thing is we're working positively for a deal. We'll take stock if there isn't one that works, but that depends on the overall circumstance. That's the first. The elements of what's positive, and let's start from the position of, really the longest standing and one of the largest trading relationships in the world between Canada and the United States, a relationship until recently that had been tariff-free, a relationship that has many integrated sectors, including the auto sector, the steel sector, the energy sector, and beyond.
This is just incoherent rambling. There's nothing there. He said literally nothing.
And so a good deal is something that preserves, reinforces, and stabilizes those relationships as much as possible. A good deal is also one that doesn't tie our hands in terms of other things that we can do so that we can pursue that positive agenda that we focus so much of our time on. And maybe just to go back to the start of your question, look, we have a lot to do in this country. We have a lot positive to do in this country, building this country in a way, building one Canadian economy. Our phone is ringing off the hook from other countries who want to do more with Canada.
Like the United Kingdom, was it last year or the year before, where they tried to do a dairy deal with Canada, and once again, supply management got in the way. They looked at the supply management situation. They're like, we're out. We're not doing a dairy deal with you guys. It's the same thing. This is the whole it's not you, it's me situation. Well, guess what, Carney? In Liberals, it's you guys. You're the problem. Fix the problem. It's not the rest of the countries. No other country's going to do a good deal with us because the problem is the Liberals.
I've had over 80 bilaterals with world leaders since I became Prime Minister. A number of those premiers have been on major trade missions. We have other things to do, and so we're going to focus more and more of our time on those positive aspects going forward.
Carney's doing nothing, and he's delivering nothing.
So my question to both of you is, how realistic is it to actually get a deal by August 1st?
I think it's realistic, but the president's just so unpredictable, and we've seen it over and over again. Yeah. You talk to him one day, and all of a sudden the next day he's on some media outlet saying there's 35% tariff.
It's interesting when Doug answered that question, he was, well, that's a whole lot of no. Doug Ford and the other premiers have more information. I think Carney divulged a little bit of what they're negotiating. He alluded to that in this press conference earlier. So he knows more of what's happening. And that response there tells me that there's no deal coming. And Mark Carney, why would he want a deal? He would only want a deal that doesn't affect his investments in America. Now, one thing that did come out of today was Doug Ford striking a deal with Alberta, Saskatchewan, a Western energy deal.
But today, the world needs what Canada has. It's time to think big. It's time to bring our critical minerals, our oil, our natural gas and energy to new markets across the globe. It started earlier this month when I visited Premier Smith during the Calgary Stampede and what a great host Premier Smith was. And boy, you had quite the party. Is the party still going on? We signed an agreement to work hand in hand to build new energy and trade infrastructure. And today, Saskatchewan is stepping up. Premier Moe has offered his full support, and that's a game changer. Let me tell you our plan. This new agreement will help move Western oil and gas to new and existing refineries in Southern Ontario and to Northern Tidewater with deep sea port in James Bay. It will connect Ontario's critical minerals in the Ring of Fire region to new ports in Western Canada, helping to build a true end-to-end critical mineral supply chain. All of it will be built using great Ontario-made and Saskatchewan-made steel, creating jobs, attracting investment, and unlocking the full potential of our economy. And all of it will be done in partnership with Indigenous communities. Canada's premiers are stepping up. Now, we need the federal government to do its part. We need the federal government to fix its broken regulatory environment and streamline approvals. And I agree 100% without listing them all. We're all in agreement what Premier Smith said. If we don't get rid of these regulations, things won't fly. But we need to do that, and hopefully we'll convince the Prime Minister to do the same thing.
Is David Eby on board with this, getting rid of the tanker ban? As you just said there, he's got to get Carney to do this too. Nothing's going to happen. There's too many losers in government.
There's no more time to waste. We're focused on a future for all Canadians, where we stand united, take control of our own destiny. And
these are all flowery words. Once again, you got to get Carney on board. One thing this does, though, is it applies pressure to Carney, because now it's not the Premier's fault. It all goes on Carney. So if this doesn't happen, it's all Carney's fault. They know what they're doing here. They want to get the pressure off their own backs. So Carney will take the fall for this if this doesn't happen.